It is more necessary to conquer yourself than to conquer the enemy. Musashi Miyamoto. Most people believe they're fighting the world. That external forces, circumstances, other people, are the real obstacles in their lives. They obsess over strategies to manipulate the outside, searching for the perfect hack, the secret technique that will finally bend reality to their will. They're fools. The only war worth fighting is the one within. The battlefield isn't some distant land or corporate office. It's the 6 inches between your ears. Your mind is the enemy, the saboteur, the architect of every failure you've ever experienced. Until you conquer that internal landscape, every external victory will be hollow, fleeting, and ultimately unsustainable. You'll find yourself back in the same self-made hell, wondering why nothing ever changes. The world throws punches, yes, but it's your own weakness that keeps you on the canvas. It's your fear, your laziness, your self-doubt that truly defeats you. The world is just the arena. You're the gladiator chained to your own worst instincts. The comfortable lie is that you are inherently good, that deep down you're a victim of circumstance, that you deserve better. This is the story weak people tell themselves to justify their inaction, to excuse their lack of discipline. They cling to this delusion like a life raft, terrified of facing the brutal truth, that they are responsible, completely and utterly responsible, for the shape of their lives. They avoid the pain of self-reflection, preferring the false comfort of blaming others. They build elaborate narratives to protect their fragile egos, constructing walls of excuses to shield themselves from the harsh reality of their own limitations. This self-deception is a prison, a gilded cage where they remain trapped, forever yearning for a freedom they are too afraid to claim. They chase fleeting pleasures, distractions, and superficial validation, desperately trying to fill the void created by their own lack of self-respect. The truth is far more difficult, far more demanding. You are flawed, you are weak, you are capable of immense cruelty both to yourself and to others. You are susceptible to temptation, prone to laziness, and easily discouraged. These are not flaws to be ashamed of. They are the raw materials you must forge into strength. Acknowledge the darkness within, understand its power, and then learn to control it. Don't deny your weaknesses, weaponize them. Turn your fear into fuel, your doubt into a catalyst for action, your laziness into a hunger for efficiency. The path to mastery isn't about eliminating your flaws. It's about mastering them, bending them to your will, using them to your advantage. This requires brutal honesty, a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths about yourself, a relentless commitment to self-improvement. Most will fail. They will cling to their comfortable lies, their excuses, their self-pity. They will choose the path of least resistance, the illusion of happiness over the hard work of self-mastery. They will remain prisoners of their own minds, forever blaming the world for their failures. But there is another path, a path forged in the fires of self-discipline, paved with the stones of relentless effort. It is a path that demands sacrifice, pain, and unwavering commitment. It is a path that leads to true freedom, to the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you have conquered yourself. This isn't about becoming a perfect human being. It's about becoming a dangerous one, a force to be reckoned with, a master of your own destiny. It's about understanding that the only limits are the ones you impose on yourself, that the only prison is the one you build with your own fears and insecurities. This is not a journey for the faint of heart. It requires a willingness to confront your deepest fears, to challenge your most cherished beliefs, to dismantle the very foundations of your identity. It is a painful process, a brutal reckoning with the self, but it is also the most rewarding journey you will ever undertake. For in conquering yourself, you conquer the world. You unlock your true potential, unleash your hidden power, and become the architect of your own destiny. The world may still throw punches, but you will be ready. You will be strong. You will be unbreakable, because you will have learned the ultimate secret. The only enemy you truly need to defeat is yourself. And once you have won that battle, no other victory will be beyond your reach. Your mind becomes your greatest asset, your sharpest weapon, the key to unlocking a life of purpose, power, and unwavering self-respect. The self, however, is a cunning adversary, adept at disguise and subterfuge. It will present obstacles cloaked in the guise of comfort, whispering temptations of ease and immediate gratification. It will exploit your weaknesses, preying on your insecurities and doubts, magnifying your failures and minimizing your successes. It will attempt to sabotage your progress, planting seeds of discouragement and despair, convincing you that the path is too difficult, the goal unattainable, that you are simply not good enough. This is the psychological battlefield where the war for self-mastery is truly fought. It is not enough to simply recognize these tactics. You must develop a deep understanding of the enemy's strategy, anticipate its moves, and prepare a counteroffensive that is both ruthless and unwavering. The first step is brutal self-awareness. You must dissect your own thoughts and emotions, identifying the patterns of self-sabotage that hold you captive. What are your triggers? What are the lies you tell yourself to justify your inaction? What are the fears that paralyze you? Honest answers to these questions are the foundation upon which you will build your defenses. Then comes the implementation of mental protocols. Like a soldier drilling relentlessly on the firing range, you must train your mind to respond to adversity with discipline and resolve. This means cultivating a mindset of unwavering commitment to your goals, refusing to yield to temptation, and learning to embrace discomfort as a sign of growth. It means developing the ability to reframe negative thoughts, to see challenges as opportunities, and to find strength in your vulnerabilities. This is not a passive process. It requires active engagement, constant vigilance, and a willingness to confront your demons head-on. Visualize the victory. Imagine the feeling of accomplishment, the sense of pride and self-respect that will come from overcoming your inner obstacles. Use this vision as fuel to propel you forward, to sustain you through the difficult times, and to remind you why you embarked on this journey in the first place. The mind is malleable like clay, capable of being molded and shaped by your will. But it requires consistent effort, relentless dedication, and an unwavering belief in your own potential. Understand that failure is inevitable. You will stumble, you will fall, you will experience setbacks and disappointments. But these moments are not defeats. They are opportunities to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. Use them as lessons, analyze your mistakes, adjust your strategy, and get back on your feet. The only true failure is giving up, surrendering to the self-doubt and negativity that seeks to consume you. Surround yourself with reminders of your purpose. Whether it's a quote that inspires you, a picture that motivates you, or a mentor who guides you, create an environment that reinforces your commitment to self-mastery. Eliminate distractions, cut ties with negativity, and focus your energy on the things that will help you achieve your goals. Develop rituals that strengthen your mental fortitude. These could include meditation, visualization exercises, journaling, or any other practice that helps you connect with your inner self and cultivate a sense of inner peace and resilience. Consistency is key. Make these rituals a part of your daily routine, just like brushing your teeth or eating a meal. The more you practice, the stronger your mind will become, and the better equipped you will be to face the challenges that lie ahead. And finally, remember that this is a lifelong journey, not a destination. There will always be new challenges to overcome, new obstacles to conquer, new levels of self-mastery to achieve. But with each step you take, with each victory you claim, you will become stronger, more resilient, and more capable of living a life of purpose, power, and unwavering self-respect. The process of enduring against the self is a constant negotiation. You will never fully defeat your ego, only learn to manage it. Like a wild animal, it can be tamed, trained, but never truly eradicated. Accept this reality and embrace the challenge of continually refining your mental defenses, strengthening your resolve, and pushing yourself beyond your perceived limits. Consider the story of James, a promising young architect, brimming with talent and ambition. He landed a coveted position at a prestigious firm straight out of university, a feat many of his peers envied. James envisioned a future filled with groundbreaking designs, accolades, and a legacy that would reshape the city skyline. But beneath the surface of his outward success lurked a crippling battle with his own inner demons. The relentless pressure to perform, the cutthroat competition within the firm, and the crushing weight of expectations slowly began to erode his confidence. He started doubting his abilities, questioning his creative vision, and second-guessing every decision he made. The initial excitement he felt transformed into a gnawing anxiety that plagued his waking hours and invaded his dreams. He found himself procrastinating on important projects, paralyzed by the fear of failure. Simple tasks that once seemed effortless now felt like insurmountable obstacles. The once sharp and innovative mind of James began to dull, clouded by a fog of self-doubt and negativity. He started isolating himself from his colleagues, avoiding social gatherings, and retreating into a shell of isolation. His personal life suffered as well. He neglected his relationships with friends and family, pushing them away with his brooding silence and irritable mood. The vibrant and optimistic young man they once knew was slowly fading away, replaced by a withdrawn and despondent figure. James knew he was spiraling downwards, but he felt powerless to stop it. He tried to reason with himself, to remind himself of his past successes, but his inner critic was relentless, drowning out any positive thoughts with a barrage of self-deprecating remarks. "You're not good enough," it would whisper. "You're a fraud. You don't deserve to be here." He attempted to seek solace in temporary distractions, alcohol, late-night television, mindless scrolling through social media. But these fleeting escapes only provided a momentary reprieve from the torment that raged within. The emptiness and despair would always return, amplified by the guilt and shame of his self-destructive behavior. One day, after a particularly scathing critique from his supervisor, James reached his breaking point. He felt like a complete failure, a disappointment to everyone who had ever believed in him. Overwhelmed by despair, he contemplated quitting his job, abandoning his dreams, and disappearing from the world altogether. The thought of simply giving up, of surrendering to the darkness, was tempting in its simplicity. But deep down, a flicker of defiance still remained. A tiny voice, barely audible above the roar of his self-doubt, whispered, "You are stronger than this." It was the voice of his former self, the confident and ambitious young architect who had dared to dream big and chase his passions. This voice, though faint, ignited a spark of hope within him. He realized that he couldn't allow his inner demons to dictate his fate. He had to fight back, to reclaim control of his mind and his life. The first step was acknowledging the problem. He admitted to himself that he was struggling with anxiety, self-doubt, and a crippling fear of failure. He recognized that he couldn't overcome these challenges alone, and he sought professional help. He started seeing a therapist who specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy, a form of treatment that helps individuals identify and challenge negative thought patterns. Through therapy, James began to understand the root causes of his anxiety and to develop coping mechanisms for managing his self-doubt. He learned to reframe his negative thoughts, to challenge his inner critic, and to focus on his strengths and accomplishments. He also started practicing mindfulness meditation, a technique that helped him to quiet his mind and to cultivate a sense of inner peace and calm. In addition to therapy, James also made significant changes to his lifestyle. He started exercising regularly, which helped to reduce his stress levels and improve his mood. He adopted a healthier diet, cutting out processed foods and sugary drinks. He made a conscious effort to reconnect with his friends and family, seeking their support and encouragement. He also rediscovered his passion for architecture, spending time sketching and exploring new design ideas. Slowly but surely, James began to emerge from the darkness. He started to regain his confidence, his creativity, and his sense of purpose. He learned to accept his imperfections, to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, and to celebrate his successes, no matter how small. He realized that the journey of self-mastery is not about eliminating your inner demons, but about learning to manage them, to harness their energy, and to transform them into sources of strength and resilience. James's story is a testament to the power of self-awareness, self-compassion, and unwavering determination. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, we have the capacity to endure against the self, to overcome our inner demons, and to create a life of purpose, power, and unwavering self-respect. The battlefield is within, and the victory, though hard one, is the sweetest of all. The trap lies in believing the battle is ever truly won. You may silence the demons for a time, build walls around your vulnerabilities, but they are patient. They wait for cracks in the foundation, for moments of weakness, for the complacency that whispers, "You are safe now." This is the most insidious lie of all. The self is not a static entity. It is a constant flux, a swirling vortex of desires, fears, and insecurities. To believe you have conquered it once and for all is to invite disaster. The weak are lulled into a false sense of security by fleeting victories. They mistake temporary calm for permanent peace, and they lower their guard. They abandon the disciplines that brought them success, convinced they no longer need them. They forget the brutal honesty that exposed their flaws and the relentless effort that forged their strengths. This is when the darkness creeps back in, slowly at first, like a tendril of smoke, then with increasing speed and ferocity, until it engulfs them once more. The weak also fall prey to external validation. They seek approval from others, measuring their worth by the fleeting praise and superficial accolades of the world. They become addicted to the dopamine rush of likes and followers, sacrificing their authenticity and inner peace in pursuit of external recognition. This dependence on external validation makes them vulnerable to manipulation and criticism. Their self-esteem becomes contingent on the opinions of others, leaving them shattered by rejection and paralyzed by fear of judgment. They become puppets, dancing to the tune of societal expectations, their true selves buried beneath a mask of conformity. True strength comes from within, from a deep-seated sense of self-worth that is independent of external circumstances. It is cultivated through self-reliance, through the unwavering pursuit of one's own values and goals, regardless of the opinions of others. It is the ability to stand alone, to face adversity with courage and conviction, knowing that your worth is not determined by what others think of you, but by who you are in your heart. Another trap is the pursuit of perfection. The weak strive for an unattainable ideal, endlessly chasing an illusion of flawless achievement. They become consumed by self-criticism, dwelling on their mistakes and shortcomings, paralyzed by the fear of failure. They set unrealistic expectations for themselves and others, leading to disappointment, frustration, and resentment. They fail to recognize that imperfection is inherent to the human condition, that mistakes are inevitable, and that growth comes from learning from our failures. True strength lies in embracing our imperfections, in accepting ourselves as we are, flaws and all. It is the ability to learn from our mistakes, to forgive ourselves for our shortcomings, and to move forward with resilience and self-compassion. It is the understanding that true growth comes not from striving for perfection, but from embracing the journey of self-improvement, with all its challenges and setbacks. The inability to adapt is a fatal flaw. The world is in constant motion, a river of change, and those who cling to rigid beliefs and fixed routines are destined to be swept away. The weak resist change, fearing the unknown, clinging to the comfort of the familiar. They become stuck in their ways, unable to adapt to new challenges and opportunities. They become irrelevant, outdated, and ultimately obsolete. True strength lies in adaptability, in the ability to embrace change, to learn new skills, and to adapt to new environments. It is the willingness to step outside of one's comfort zone, to challenge one's own beliefs, and to embrace the unknown with courage and curiosity. It is the understanding that change is inevitable, and that growth comes from adapting to it, from learning from it, and from using it to our advantage. Furthermore, the inability to delay gratification is a significant weakness. The weak are driven by instant impulses, seeking immediate pleasure and avoiding short-term discomfort. They indulge in fleeting pleasures, sacrificing long-term goals for momentary satisfaction. They lack the discipline to resist temptation, to delay gratification, and to invest in their future. They become trapped in a cycle of instant gratification, leading to addiction, debt, and a lack of fulfillment. True strength lies in the ability to delay gratification, to resist temptation, and to focus on long-term goals. It is the discipline to make sacrifices in the present for a better future, to endure short-term discomfort for long-term gain. It is the understanding that true fulfillment comes not from instant gratification, but from the achievement of meaningful goals, from the cultivation of lasting relationships, and from the pursuit of a life of purpose. Finally, the most crippling trap of all is a lack of self-awareness. The weak are blind to their own flaws, their own weaknesses, and their own destructive patterns of behavior. They operate on autopilot, driven by unconscious impulses and ingrained habits. They blame others for their problems, refusing to take responsibility for their own actions. They lack the self-reflection necessary to understand their own motivations, their own emotions, and their own impact on the world. True strength begins with self-awareness, with the brutal honesty to confront one's own flaws, to acknowledge one's own weaknesses, and to take responsibility for one's own actions. It is the willingness to examine one's own beliefs, to challenge one's own assumptions, and to continuously strive for self-improvement. It is the understanding that the journey of self-mastery begins with self-awareness, with the unwavering commitment to know thyself and to become the best version of oneself. Only through constant vigilance and ruthless self-assessment can you hope to navigate the labyrinth of your own mind and emerge victorious, not once, but every single day. The strategy to endure against the self begins with understanding that your mind is a battlefield, and you are both the warring factions. One side seeks comfort, ease, and immediate pleasure. The other strives for growth, discipline, and long-term fulfillment. Most are naive in this battle. They equip one side to win and the other side to be weak. Machiavelli understood that the prince who only knows how to build does not know how to conquer. The first step is to recognize this internal conflict not as a flaw, but as an opportunity for growth. It is through this internal friction that true strength is forged. Refuse to demonize one side of yourself and empower another side. You need both. Learn to control, direct, and deceive each part of yourself. Understand their value and their place. The next step is to develop a strategic mindset to approach your own mind as you would approach a complex military campaign. This requires meticulous planning, careful observation, and ruthless execution. Analyze your weaknesses, identify your vulnerabilities, and anticipate your own self-sabotaging tendencies. Your mind has habits, learn them. Your mind has preferences, learn them. Your mind has boundaries, learn them. Your mind is a tool. Do not be fooled into thinking of it as a friend. It is a tool for survival, nothing more, nothing less. Understand that these habits are defense mechanisms, and your preferences are often the result of past traumas or unfulfilled needs. Be compassionate, but do not be lenient. Acknowledge the origins of these patterns, but refuse to be controlled by them. Next, master the art of psychological warfare against yourself. This involves employing techniques of deception, manipulation, and strategic misdirection to outwit your own self-destructive impulses. Use the power of visualization to create vivid mental images of your desired outcomes, to reinforce your commitment to your goals, and to inoculate yourself against the temptations of instant gratification. Employ the art of reframing to reinterpret negative experiences in a positive light, to transform obstacles into opportunities, and to cultivate a sense of resilience in the face of adversity. Learn to control your emotions, to detach yourself from your impulses, and to observe your thoughts without judgment. This is not about suppressing your feelings, but about mastering them, about channeling them towards productive ends. Furthermore, cultivate the discipline of delayed gratification, the ability to resist immediate pleasures in favor of long-term rewards. This requires a fundamental shift in perspective, a conscious rejection of the instant gratification culture that pervades modern society. Train yourself to appreciate the value of hard work, to find satisfaction in the process of striving, and to derive fulfillment from the achievement of meaningful goals. This is not about denying yourself pleasure altogether, but about strategically allocating your rewards, about using pleasure as a tool to reinforce positive behaviors, and about avoiding the trap of impulsive indulgence. Understand that true satisfaction comes not from fleeting moments of pleasure, but from the deep sense of accomplishment that comes from overcoming challenges, from pushing your limits, and from realizing your full potential. Remember that the path to self-mastery is not a linear one, but a cyclical process of growth, setback, and renewal. There will be times when you stumble, when you fall, and when you feel overwhelmed by the challenges that lie ahead. But it is in these moments of adversity that your true strength is revealed. Embrace your failures as opportunities for learning, to analyze your mistakes without self-condemnation, and to extract valuable lessons from your experiences. Cultivate a growth mindset, a belief that your abilities are not fixed, but can be developed through dedication and hard work. Surround yourself with people who support your growth, who challenge your assumptions, and who inspire you to become the best version of yourself. Never stop learning, never stop growing, and never stop striving to become the master of your own mind. This is the essence of enduring against the self, of transforming your internal conflict into a source of strength, and of unlocking your full potential for greatness. Finally, recognize that the enemy is always within. You cannot escape yourself, you cannot outrun your weaknesses, and you cannot hide from your flaws. The only way to truly conquer the self is to confront it head-on, to embrace the battle, and to emerge victorious, not just once, but every single day. Consider the ancient empires, Rome, for example. They did not fall from external blows alone, but from internal decay. The rot started within, with complacency, decadence, and a loss of the very values that built their strength. The legions could still march, the walls still stand, but the will to power, the hunger for excellence, the discipline that forged them into a world power, those were gone. Similarly, your own decline will not be heralded by a dramatic defeat, but by a slow erosion of your inner resolve. Each compromise, each shortcut, each moment of weakness chips away at your foundation. You tell yourself it's just this once, that you deserve a break, that you'll get back on track tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes another excuse, and the next day another. Before you know it, you're a shadow of your former self, adrift in a sea of mediocrity. The enemy in this case is not some external force seeking to undermine you, but the insidious voice within that whispers justifications for your failures, that tells you it's okay to give up, that you're not strong enough, that success is for other people. This voice is your greatest adversary, more dangerous than any physical threat, because it operates from within, exploiting your vulnerabilities, preying on your insecurities, and slowly poisoning your mind. The great generals understood this principle. They knew that victory on the battlefield was only possible if they first won the battle within their own minds. They had to conquer their fears, their doubts, and their temptations. They had to maintain unwavering focus and discipline, even in the face of overwhelming odds. They couldn't allow personal desires or petty rivalries to cloud their judgment. They had to remain objective, strategic, and ruthless. They knew that a single moment of weakness, a single lapse in judgment, could spell disaster, not just for themselves, but for their entire army. They drilled their soldiers not just in combat, but in mental fortitude, teaching them to endure hardship, to obey orders without question, and to fight to the death if necessary. They understood that war is not just a physical contest, but a psychological one, a battle of wills, and that the side with the stronger mental game is more likely to prevail. This principle applies equally to your own life. Your success, your happiness, your fulfillment all depend on your ability to master your own mind. You must become your own general, your own drill sergeant, your own therapist, constantly monitoring your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and correcting any deviations from your chosen path. You must learn to identify your weaknesses, to understand your triggers, and to develop strategies for overcoming your limitations. You must cultivate a relentless focus on your goals and an unwavering commitment to your values. You must be willing to make sacrifices, to endure hardship, and to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. Consider the concept of psychological warfare as it applies to the self. Nations employ propaganda and misinformation to undermine the morale of their enemies, to sow discord and confusion, and to weaken their resolve. You must be aware of the same tactics being used against you, not by some external force, but by your own subconscious mind. Negative self-talk, limiting beliefs, and self-sabotaging behaviors are all forms of internal propaganda, designed to keep you trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. You must learn to recognize these tactics for what they are, and to counter them with a powerful counter-narrative, a belief in your own potential, a commitment to your own success, and an unwavering determination to achieve your goals. This requires constant vigilance, a willingness to challenge your own assumptions, and a commitment to truth, even when it's painful. You must be willing to confront your own flaws, to acknowledge your own mistakes, and to take responsibility for your own actions. This is not about self-flagellation or self-pity, but about honest self-assessment, about identifying areas for improvement, and about taking concrete steps to become a better version of yourself. It is a constant battle against the internal enemy, a war waged not on a battlefield but within the confines of your own mind. And it is a war that you must win, not just for yourself, but for all those who depend on you, for all those who look up to you, and for all those who believe in your potential. The greatest battles are always fought within. The external world is merely a reflection of your internal state. Conquer yourself and you conquer the world. Fail to master your own mind and you become a slave to your own impulses, a victim of your own circumstances, a prisoner of your own limitations. The choice is yours. You can choose to endure against the self, to embrace the struggle and to emerge victorious, or you can succumb to the internal enemy, to surrender to mediocrity and to waste your potential. The path to self-mastery is not easy, but it is the only path worth pursuing. It is the path to true freedom, to true happiness, and to true fulfillment. It is the path to becoming the person you were always meant to be. The empires of the past crumbled when they lost sight of their core values. Do not let that be your fate. Constantly reaffirm your commitment to excellence. Relentlessly pursue self-improvement. Unflinchingly confront your inner demons. And never, ever give up on yourself. The rewards are immeasurable. The process of enduring against the self begins with brutal self-awareness. It demands an unflinching examination of your weaknesses, your flaws, and your shortcomings. This isn't about self-deprecation or dwelling on failures, but about honest self-assessment, about identifying areas for improvement, and about taking concrete steps to become a better version of yourself. It is a constant battle against the internal enemy, a war waged not on a battlefield but within the confines of your own mind. And it is a war that you must win, not just for yourself, but for all those who depend on you, for all those who look up to you, and for all those who believe in your potential. The greatest battles are always fought within. The external world is merely a reflection of your internal state. Conquer yourself and you conquer the world. Fail to master your own mind and you become a slave to your own impulses, a victim of your own circumstances, a prisoner of your own limitations. The choice is yours. You can choose to endure against the self, to embrace the struggle and to emerge victorious, or you can succumb to the internal enemy, to surrender to mediocrity and to waste your potential. The path to self-mastery is not easy, but it is the only path worth pursuing. It is the path to true freedom, to true happiness, and to true fulfillment. It is the path to becoming the person you were always meant to be. The empires of the past crumbled when they lost sight of their core values. Do not let that be your fate. Constantly reaffirm your commitment to excellence. Relentlessly pursue self-improvement. Unflinchingly confront your inner demons. And never, ever give up on yourself. To truly endure against yourself, you must understand the fundamental nature of the internal opposition. It is not a singular entity, but a collection of ingrained habits, limiting beliefs, and self-sabotaging tendencies. Each of these elements requires a distinct strategy for dismantling. Habits, for example, are best addressed through consistent and deliberate replacement. Identify the undesirable habit, understand its triggers, and then consciously substitute it with a more constructive behavior. This process demands patience and persistence, as deeply ingrained habits can be incredibly resistant to change. Limiting beliefs, on the other hand, require a more cognitive approach. These beliefs often operate below the level of conscious awareness, silently shaping your thoughts, feelings, and actions. To overcome them, you must first bring them to light. Question their validity, challenge their assumptions, and actively seek out evidence that contradicts them. This process of cognitive restructuring can be uncomfortable, as it forces you to confront deeply held assumptions about yourself and the world. Self-sabotaging tendencies are perhaps the most insidious form of internal opposition. These tendencies often manifest as procrastination, avoidance, or even outright self-destruction. They are driven by a complex interplay of fear, insecurity, and a deep-seated desire to avoid failure or discomfort. To overcome self-sabotage, you must first understand its underlying motives. What are you afraid of? What are you trying to avoid? Once you understand the root causes of your self-sabotaging behavior, you can begin to develop strategies for managing it. This might involve breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, setting realistic goals, and rewarding yourself for progress. It might also involve seeking professional help, such as therapy or counseling, to address underlying issues of anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem. The psychological landscape of self-improvement is riddled with booby traps and hidden pitfalls. One of the most common is the illusion of progress. You might feel like you're making significant strides, only to realize later that you've been running in circles. This can be incredibly discouraging, leading to feelings of frustration, hopelessness, and even despair. To avoid this trap, it's crucial to establish clear, measurable goals and to track your progress meticulously. Don't rely on subjective feelings or vague impressions. Instead, focus on concrete data and quantifiable results. Another common pitfall is the tendency to compare yourself to others. In the age of social media, it's easy to get caught up in the comparison game, constantly measuring your own achievements against the highlight reels of others. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy, envy, and resentment. Remember that everyone is on their own unique journey, and that comparing yourself to others is ultimately a pointless exercise. Focus instead on your own progress and celebrate your own achievements, no matter how small. Perhaps the most dangerous pitfall of all is the temptation to give up. The path to self-mastery is long and arduous, and there will be times when you feel like you're making no progress at all. You might feel overwhelmed by setbacks, discouraged by failures, and tempted to simply throw in the towel. It's during these moments that your resolve will be tested the most. Remember why you started this journey in the first place. Remind yourself of your goals, your values, and your aspirations, and never, ever give up on yourself. To cultivate the mental resilience necessary to endure against the self, you must adopt a proactive approach to managing your thoughts and emotions. This begins with developing a heightened awareness of your internal dialogue. Pay attention to the thoughts that run through your mind, especially the negative or self-critical ones. Are these thoughts based on facts or assumptions? Are they helpful or harmful? Once you become aware of your negative thought patterns, you can begin to challenge them. Question their validity, reframe them in a more positive light, and replace them with more constructive alternatives. This process of cognitive restructuring takes time and effort, but it can be incredibly effective in reducing anxiety, improving mood, and boosting self-esteem. In addition to managing your thoughts, it's also important to cultivate emotional regulation skills. Learn to identify and understand your emotions, and develop healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with difficult feelings. This might involve practicing mindfulness, engaging in physical exercise, spending time in nature, or connecting with supportive friends and family. The key is to find strategies that work for you and to incorporate them into your daily routine. Furthermore, cultivate a growth mindset. Believe that your abilities and intelligence are not fixed traits, but rather qualities that can be developed through effort and dedication. Embrace challenges as opportunities for learning and growth, and view failures as valuable lessons. A growth mindset will not only help you to persevere in the face of adversity, but it will also make the journey of self-improvement more enjoyable and rewarding. Develop a robust system for accountability. Find a mentor, a coach, or a supportive friend who can hold you accountable to your goals and help you stay on track. Regularly review your progress, identify areas where you're struggling, and make adjustments to your plan as needed. Accountability is essential for maintaining momentum and preventing stagnation. The strategic application of psychological warfare principles can be surprisingly effective in the battle against the self. This involves using tactics of deception, manipulation, and psychological influence to overcome your own internal resistance. For example, you can use the principle of commitment and consistency to your advantage by making a public declaration of your goals. This will create a social pressure to follow through on your commitment, even when you feel like giving up. You can also use the principle of scarcity to motivate yourself to take action by creating a sense of urgency around your goals. Remind yourself that time is limited and that you don't want to waste your potential. Another effective tactic is to use visualization to mentally rehearse your success. Imagine yourself achieving your goals, experiencing the positive emotions associated with success, and overcoming any obstacles that stand in your way. This mental rehearsal can help to build confidence, reduce anxiety, and increase your chances of success. Furthermore, learn to use the power of positive reinforcement to reward yourself for progress. Celebrate your achievements, no matter how small, and acknowledge your efforts. This will help to build momentum and create a positive feedback loop that reinforces your commitment to self-improvement. Remember that psychological warfare is not about manipulating or harming others, but about using psychological principles to gain an advantage over yourself. It's about understanding your own weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and then using that knowledge to overcome your internal resistance and achieve your goals. Ultimately, enduring against the self is not a one-time event, but a lifelong process. It requires a constant commitment to self-improvement, a relentless pursuit of excellence, and an unwavering dedication to your goals. There will be times when you feel like you're making no progress, times when you're tempted to give up, and times when you question whether it's all worth it. But it's during these moments that your true character will be revealed. It's during these moments that you must draw upon your inner strength, your resilience, and your unwavering belief in yourself. Remember that the journey to self-mastery is not easy, but it is the only path worth pursuing. It is the path to true freedom, to true happiness, and to true fulfillment. It is the path to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Embrace the struggle, confront your inner demons, and never, ever give up on yourself. The rewards are immeasurable. Enduring against the self is not just about achieving external success, but about cultivating inner peace, developing self-respect,